All right, so welcome to this deep dive,
Mhm.
and today we're going to be looking at some excerpts from a website
Okay.
called Symbols, Visual Arts, and Q Cosmeno Realm. And
Interesting.
yeah, it's really quite fascinating stuff, and it kind of feels like we're getting a peek into a secret society almost,
Yeah.
with all these symbols and beliefs and art forms.
Yeah, it's presented in a really interesting way, too.
Yeah,
Like it's an internal document,
right.
almost like a guidebook,
Mm-hmm.
for people who are already
Yeah.
in the know.
Yeah, and they use all these like made-up words all the time.
The neologisms?
Yeah, Cosmicon Symbols and
Yeah.
Hidden Q and like tons of others.
Well, that's a classic way for groups to kind of
Right.
solidify their identity and make everyone feel like they belong.
Exactly.
Language is a powerful tool
For sure.
to reinforce those shared values
Yeah.
and beliefs.
Okay, so let's dive into some of this stuff.
Okay.
The website really emphasizes this cosmic symbolism right from the beginning. Yeah. And they have these Cosmicon symbols, they call them, and they're categorized into 4 groups: Luminicon, Zodicon, Timicon, and Elementicon.
Wow.
So we're talking astronomical objects, zodiac signs,
Interesting.
time, and even classical and chemical elements.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of all that?
Well, if they're basing their symbolism on the cosmos, it suggests
Yeah.
a worldview that's pretty vast and maybe even kind of spiritual.
Right.
It hints at this desire to connect with something bigger than themselves,
Yeah.
to find meaning in the grand scheme of the universe.
It's like they're drawing on these ancient traditions of astrology and elemental symbolism, but like giving it their own unique spin.
Definitely.
Which makes you wonder, what does this say about their values?
Right.
Do they value order, mystery, connection to the natural world?
What do you think, listener?
Yeah. What do you think?
It's definitely open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Maybe they see the universe as like a source of inspiration or guidance,
Mm.
or even a reflection of their own inner world.
Yeah, and their art forms seem to tie into that as well. They specifically mention EDM music and genres like science fiction, fantasy, adventure, anime, and even video games.
What I find interesting is that
Yeah.
those genres often explore themes of the unknown,
Yeah.
Right. Pushing the boundaries of reality, and that aligns with their cosmic focus, that fascination with the vastness of space and time, with concepts beyond our immediate perception.
Yeah, it's like their art imitates their cosmology, allowing them to explore these themes creatively and in a really engaging way. It also makes me think about the role of community.
Okay.
They emphasize basketball and American football, which are both team sports that require a lot of cooperation and shared strategy.
That's a great point.
And
so it seems like their artistic preferences might reveal a desire for both individual exploration and communal experiences.
Yes.
A sort of balance between the personal and the collective.
Yeah, for sure.
How do those two concepts play out in your own life, listener?
That's a good question for our listeners.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about their style for a minute.
Okay.
They have this distinct way of dressing called heading cue.
All right.
So picture specific hairstyles and headdresses,
Okay.
almost like uniform, and they even have names
Wow.
for these different components, like heading cue do,
Okay.
varied heading cue fit with a grave beanie,
Interesting.
and then there's the tall tee made with specific fabrics like darkery, blaze flow, and fleck on blank.
It's a whole vocabulary.
It really is.
It definitely reinforces that idea of a cohesive group with shared aesthetic values, almost like signaling their membership through these specific choices.
It reminds me of how subcultures throughout history have used clothing and style as a way to express their identity and differentiate themselves from the mainstream.
Right.
Could this be a similar phenomenon?
Quite possibly. It's fascinating how clothing can become a language in itself.
Right.
Communicating belonging, status, even rebellion. And it seems like the Cosmeno realm has taken this to a whole new level with their very specific terminology.
Okay, so speaking of curated experiences,
All right.
the zone core acts as a physical manifestation of the Cosmeno realm itself,
Right.
almost like a microcosm of their worldview.
The website describes it as a table with a picture of a local landmark, a signboard displaying the date, time, weather,
Wow.
Even news updates and potentially a monitor playing videos.
So it's like a hybrid of a community bulletin board and a personalized news feed, all centered around a local landmark.
Right.
So what does that tell us about their relationship to place and information?
Well, it suggests a strong connection to both their immediate surrounding and the wider world. Perhaps the zone core serves as a central gathering point, where members can connect, share information, and engage with current events.
It's interesting.
What do you envision when you picture the zone core listener?
Yeah. What do you think is the purpose of this zone core?
Yeah.
Could it be where they discuss their apparition journeys?
Oh, apparition.
This concept seems to be central to their approach to personal growth.
So as they describe it, apparition involves systematically categorizing and documenting the steps one takes to achieve a goal.
Interesting.
While actively reflecting on each stage of the process.
So it's interesting how they've formalized personal growth into a system.
Yeah.
Like imagine apparition as a personalized productivity tool, meticulously documenting your journey towards any goal, big or small.
Okay.
You become acutely aware of each step.
Right.
Almost like leveling up in a video game, which seems to align with their love for that art form.
Yeah.
And they provide examples of these apparition groupings, like going from kindergarten to a career, renting to owning a home, or dating to marriage. These are all universal experiences that many people go through.
They're saying no matter what path you're on,
Right.
there's a way to approach it mindfully and intentionally.
Could this be a secret weapon for achieving your aspirations, listener?
Yeah, maybe apparition is something you could try
Exactly.
in your own life.
Yeah.
And speaking of aspirations, their concept of Mundi Mark is really interesting.
Okay.
It's essentially a property, something owned by a member of the Cosmeno realm that's debt-free, beneficial to others, and ultimately passed down to the next generation after their death.
So it goes beyond just leaving a financial inheritance.
Right.
They're talking about creating something that provides ongoing value to the community.
Exactly.
Whether that's economic, ecological, or social.
It's like a tangible representation of their legacy, a way to continue making a positive impact.
Right.
Even after they're gone.
It really makes you think about your own values, listener.
It does.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? What would your Mundi mark be?
Now, shifting gears a bit, their concept of Lokis and Kohabi highlights the importance of place and belonging within their worldview.
They have this fascinating hierarchy of Lokis.
Yeah.
Significant cities for their members.
So your ground Loki is the largest city in your own country.
All right.
Globe Loki includes major international cities like London, New York, Tokyo, and then there's
a global network.
The Mother Loki, the largest city in your country.
It's like they've created a roadmap for experiencing the world through their own unique lens.
And within these cities, they have designated Loki spots. Specific neighborhoods known for their mixed-use areas.
Interesting.
Food and nightlife.
It's almost like they've curated a travel guide for members. Highlighting places where they can connect with each other and experience the local culture in a way that aligns with their values.
And then there's Kohabi. Which is fascinating.
What is that?
It's described as a second hometown. A place where a member has a permanent residence and feels a strong connection, even if it's not their primary place of residence.
Like having a backup plan, a safe haven, or just another place in the world where you feel a sense of belonging.
Exactly. What do you think, listener?
Do you have a Kohabi?
A place that feels like a second home to you.
Maybe it's a city you've always dreamed of living in, a place where you have close friends or family, or even just a location that holds special memories and significance for you.
Speaking of connections, their cosmology really delves into how they see the universe and everything in it. They've identified 5 categories of energies. Wow. Dark energy, genius, dark matter, visual matter, and plane matter.
It's a unique framework that goes beyond traditional scientific models.
They envision an eternal cycle where these energies interact and transform, creating and dissolving the world as we know it.
So let's break it down. Dark energy is the foundation. Immaterial and immortal, the source from which everything else arises.
Then we have genius, which they describe as arising from imbalances.
Okay.
In dark energy, it's linked to consciousness, thoughts.
Interesting.
The subconscious, almost like the spark of creative potential.
And from genius, we get dark matter,
Yes.
which they associate with the soul, emotions, and even skills.
Right.
It's interesting how they connect these intangible aspects of ourselves to a form of matter.
And through imbalances in dark matter, we arrive at visual matter, the physical world that we can perceive with our senses.
This is where oppression takes place.
Yes.
Where we strive to achieve our goals and leave our mundi mark on the world.
It's like their cosmology provides a framework for understanding not just the universe, but our purpose within it.
And finally, we have plane matter.
Yes.
Which they say arises both during and after physical existence.
Right. It encompasses things like affairs, issues, even ghosts, remnants of experiences that eventually dissolve back into dark energy.
Completing the cycle.
Completing the cycle.
So in their view, nothing is ever truly lost.
Right.
It's all part of a continuous process
of
transformation and renewal.
It's quite a beautiful concept, isn't it?
It is. Does this resonate with you at all, listener?
It certainly challenges us to think differently about life, death, and the interconnectedness of everything.
Now, before we wrap up, the website mentions a few other key terms that give us further insights into their culture and hierarchy.
Honorary, for instance, seems to be a title of respect. They use it for their leaders, the Cosmeno chiefs, or as an honorific for special individuals.
It suggests a certain level of social organization within the Cosmeno realm with recognized positions of authority or influence.
And then there's their unique slang.
Right.
Especially related to fashion.
Yeah, they talk about doing heading cue, or throwing darkery.
Right. Which further reinforces your distinct style and vocabulary.
It all adds to the mystique, doesn't it?
It does. It's like we're piecing together a puzzle, but we're still missing some crucial pieces.
We've explored their symbols, their beliefs, their art forms, even their cosmology. But there's still so much we don't know.
Right.
Who are these people?
Yeah.
How many of them are there?
Exactly.
Where do they live? These are the questions.
Those are the big questions.
That linger. Yeah, it's like we've stumbled upon this hidden language and like decoded their symbols but haven't actually met the people, you know.
Right. The website itself is almost like a message in a bottle.
Yeah.
It tells us about their beliefs, their aspirations.
Right.
But it doesn't show us their faces.
Right.
Or their meeting places.
Yeah. Maybe that's intentional.
Yeah. It definitely adds to the intrigue.
It does. It makes you wonder if they're deliberately, you know, trying to keep things hidden, maybe to protect their community.
Right.
Or maintain a sense of exclusivity.
That's certainly a possibility. You know, many groups throughout history have chosen to operate in secrecy for safety reasons or to cultivate a sense of mystery.
Yeah. What I find fascinating is how much we can learn from just their website alone.
Right.
It's like a blueprint for a way of life, you know?
Yeah.
Blending cosmic awareness and mindful goal setting.
Yeah, and that raises an interesting question.
What's that?
What if the Cosmeno realm isn't a fixed physical entity, but rather this evolving set of ideas that anyone can adopt and adapt? What if it's less about belonging to a specific group and more about embracing a certain worldview?
That's a really powerful thought.
Yeah, maybe it's not about finding a secret society to join.
Right.
But about creating your own version of the Cosmeno realm in your own life.
Exactly. So, listener, as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something to think about.
Yeah.
What aspects of the Cosmeno realm speak to you? What resonates with your own values and aspirations?
Maybe you're drawn to their cosmic symbolism.
Right.
Their mindful approach to goal setting.
Yeah.
Or their commitment to creating a better world. Maybe you even see a little bit of yourself in their style and vocabulary.
Possibly so. Remember,
the
most valuable takeaways from any deep dive are the insights that inspire you.
Absolutely.
To think differently, to explore new possibilities, and to live a more intentional and fulfilling life.
Well, it's been a pleasure exploring the world of the Cosmeno realm with you.
Likewise.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring.
Yes.
And keep seeking those connections that make life meaningful.
Great advice. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.